Convo. Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Carmen. I'm your host, Carmen. This is my side host,
Ashley.
and our wonderful producer, T Nugget, as always.
Nugget.
And on today's episode, we have been graced with the presence of royalty. We have back one of my favorite guests that we've ever had on the show, Cydney Parsons.
Oh, hello. Such kind words.
I'm so happy to have her back. Her episode, I don't feel like we did her justice. Our sound quality was janky at best. And
it was a learning experience.
Yes, it was one of the earlier days. But now everyone will have the opportunity to go back and listen to that one, but also fully hear her some stories about her journey, where she is now in life, in comparison or contrast to how what her life looked like the last time she was on, and then some of her goals or aspirations or visions for the future. So I'm gonna jump right in. I guess we can let you tell a little bit about yourself first, if you want, like a little small intro.
My name is Cydney Parsons. I am 22 years old, just graduated from the University of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And I currently plan to attend law school next fall. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. So we had an opportunity to talk with her a little bit before we started recording. So I know a few questions kind of came to life from that. I don't know, Ashley, if you want to jump right in, kind of recap what we discussed on the last one.
Yeah.
And
so the first time you came, we talked on a wide variety of topics. So we had covered modesty, ministering to others, and being a light to those around us who may not be believers. We talked about sharing our faith and being transparent with those who don't believe like we do, and not hiding our faith. I think, and we also talked about just family dynamics of, like, you're the youngest in your family, I'm the oldest, Carmen's the middle child, and how that kind of plays a part in life. And then we also talked about relationships and being in them, not being in them, how you maneuver through them. So jumping into some of the topics, I kind of wanted to start I want to leave off modesty. I think we covered that enough, back in the day. But I think the major one is like faith. Like, when you were there, how did your faith carry you through? And now that you are going into new endeavors, where do you think that is going to take you?
So, like, in college, basically?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would say faith came in the form of keeping me grounded and keeping my head the right size, I had to say, because I, this past school year, I was the president of the Black Affairs Council. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, BAC was me. I'm BAC. Like, I love that org so much. Mm-hmm. And we would have probably 4 programs a month on base. And then we may do other stuff. And then if it's BAC week, we got something every day. And if it's Fab week, we got something every day in February. And it was like so much stuff to do. And I kept running into issues with our advisor, who was above us, because they were basically overhauling the whole, department that we were under, and putting in new rules that I almost hated all of them. And I had to have faith that, these people have the credentials, they know what they're talking about, they know how to help us. But it was a rough year with that. The whole year I was mad at something. But yeah, letting go and letting them do their jobs and helping us took a lot of faith.
And I think we sat down and talked with you about 2 years ago. So in those 2 years, the Cydney that we knew then, are you still the Cydney that we know now? Because you were very staunch and in everything. You were like, this is me. This is how I want to be. I'm going for it like this. Nobody can shake me or anything. Do you find that through your to this point that you are still that same person. Like, you're like, all of my beliefs that I had back then, I still have and hold true, and I'm walking through them.
Yeah, I feel like I have to be that person. And I feel like if everyone else just loses it, I have to be the one who doesn't fall, basically, or it doesn't just, give in. And like with situations like taking care of my granddad at home, like if my mom is overwhelmed, I have to step in and help her.
Yeah.
And it's really a gift from God, because he makes me, like, there's certain stuff that happens where most people be like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe this. I can't deal with this. Like with my granddad, I'm just like, okay, like, I'll help you. And it's just like an overwhelming sense of love for him that flows through me when I'm taking care of him, because he's my only grandfather that I have left.
Yeah.
And grandparent, I never met my other grandfather, and then love for my mom to see, like, when she needs a break, give her help. And so being a unmovable person really helps in that.
Yeah.
And it helps, like, if I'm like, okay, Mom, let me do this. I'll take care of that. And the steadiness in my demeanor, my voice, like, helps her to trust me that I can take care of him.
Yeah.
And she can relax and take that break she needs.
And that is kind of interesting that you would go into caregiving, because I actually have that on the list as something to talk about, because I think a lot of times people don't realize that even in short periods of time you can be a caregiver. It doesn't have to be a full-time caregiving, but in that it's a lot of work in there. And so how have you been able to balance that with all the other things that you've been doing to be able to assist your mom when she needs it, to assist your grandfather as he's dealing with his health issues and whatever, and being able to maintain everything else that you're doing?
Yeah, I would say right now I don't have a lot of stuff going on outside of studying for law school.
Yeah, because you just graduated.
Yeah,
so it's not like,
and then I'm trying to stay in contact with my friends and not just become a recluse.
Yeah,
but we try to make sure we're up on each other's schedules.
Yes.
Because sometimes I wake up, it's just me and granddad. Like, okay, what if I had somewhere to go?
Yeah.
But we communicate with each other. It's like, hey, can you watch granddad for this amount of time? I need to go do something. And I'm like, yeah, sure, we can do that. Being really, really flexible, it's helpful. Like right now, my mom, she realized, she had a revelation. I'm sure she doesn't mind me telling, because she tells everyone. Anyway, but she had her back was hurting, and she didn't know where it was coming from. But she realized when she's helping my granddad, like, sometimes he won't move.
Yes.
And she has to push him a little bit, and that hurts her back. And so, yes, like, she's been taking time off from him the last 2 days, and me and my dad have stepped in. And so, like, yesterday, the day before that, it was just me and granddad. And so I was like, but I was like, okay. But I've been able to help him. And sometimes he gets
agitated.
Yeah, it's just like, it'll just jump on him. And he'll just be like, whoa, well, why I gotta do that?
Yeah.
I said, let's go to the bathroom, granddad. How about you go to the bathroom? And it's like, but I know there's no... It's not because he's mad at me. It's not, there's no reasoning with him necessarily. And I know what it is. And that helps address what's going on with him. And then other times he'll be, like, super clear. Yeah. And, like, the other day, he does this thing, like, he'll shake his legs. I'm like, okay, let's go to the bathroom. And he was like, why I gotta go to the bathroom? I said, because you're shaking your legs. He's like, oh, you be paying attention to me that much? Like, yeah, granddad. Yeah. So sometimes he'll be really clear, and other times he's just peaceful, quiet, and he's like, he can still walk by himself. Most of his hair is still black. Like, he has more hair than my dad. And I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
And so he could be in a lot worse condition than what he is, but he can still walk by himself. So it's really, like, I think he's been living with us since 2019. So. It's been a blessing to be able to take care of him and get to know him, because I did not. I think we saw him probably once a year before he started living with my grandmother. And him and my grandmother have been separated longer than they've been together in their marriage. Wow. So I didn't know him a lot, and so getting to know him, being around him every day, I'd be like, "Hey, granddad," he's like, "Hey, babe," and so he's real sweet. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, and that's. I think that's something that with caregiving is that once the Lord allows you to be in that place, especially as a believer, I think he does, like you said, give you a place of love that's different than you might have had prior to. That it gives you the opportunity to get to know people, to love on them while they're still here, to be like, you know, I have this memory of you. You know, you might not have been in the best health, but I still got to spend time with you and know you and love you, and that's going to carry me throughout. So I think that's a true blessing that you have gotten the opportunity to do that.
So one of the things that you said kind of stood out to me. You're like, I have to be like unmovable, and I have to be this rock, like almost like a foundation, because other people rely on me. How do you recharge or kind of rebuild your foundation so that people can be like, you know what, Cydney's going to be there? You know, how do you continue to build yourself up?
That is a great question. I have to stay prayed up, I'd say, for sure, because it was like clockwork. Every spring semester, there would be a time where I can feel myself like, what's the word? Just overdoing it.
Yeah.
Overdoing it. And then I was like, I know I'm going to crash one of these days. Yeah. And I felt that this past spring.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh. And it's like I was just moving. I was just working through the motions. But I was like, I don't want to crash.
Yes.
So I had to stop myself, take a step back, breathe, delegate to like the other people working with me, and just pray. And it's like, Lord, you know, this feels like too much. Take it from me.
Yeah.
And so that really kept me from crashing, and it keeps me strong.
Yeah.
And like right now, I feel like, not necessarily that I'm the only one, but I really feel like I need to stand for my dad.
Yeah.
With Pastor Wayne's passing, because like he always says all the time that Pastor Wayne was like a father to him. And I remember just being worried that he was just going to, I don't know, fall apart one day or something. And I was just praying to God. I was like, Lord, keep him. Lord, keep him. And then like the first Sunday after the last one. And then I was so proud of him. I was like the Lord kept him. Like he got through the service.
Yes.
He can do it. And so like right now, that's where I feel like I need to be strong for him.
Yeah.
But he's been handling it pretty well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's where that feeling comes from.
Well, that's good. I mean, the fact that you're willing, because a lot of times I feel like people can be a support to others, but their willingness to forego potentially their wants, or be like, well, I'm only going to focus about me, or have that degree of almost selfishness to do whatever you want to do. Like you're saying, no, like I understand that I'm in a place or a position where I can be of support. I can help my mom. I can be, you know, stable for my dad. I can do those things. So I'm willing to do it. Lord, use me.
Yeah.
And so you're like, you know what? I'm a willing vessel. God, I graduate right on time. I can be here. Where do you need me to be? And you're willing to put that, really, like I said, that level of selflessness in play to say, Lord, where do you have me? What do you have me to do? And he's faithfully kind of building you up. Like you're like, it's hard.
Yeah.
Lord, keep
and
me.
then sometimes I'm like, you know, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you think like say something needs to be done, and you think about asking someone, and you're like, oh, they wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do it. Like it'll be fine. Like I'll get over it. Or like, but that can get me in trouble sometimes.
Say more.
And I realized like I really either didn't want to do this or I didn't like it. Like last time that happened, we have a G-Day game, which is when our football team plays each other in the spring. And I was like, oh, I'm going to volunteer with the football ambassadors who talk to incoming football students. And I did it all fall semester, and it was great. But it was G-Day is also kind of like a homecoming part too. And there's cookouts and stuff. And I was a senior, and it was my last one. And I got there, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Why did I volunteer for this?
Yes.
So I left, and I was like, it feels good to choose myself. They were fine.
Yes.
They had help. But I was just like, yeah, I should have thought about that a little bit more before I signed up for it.
Do you feel like obviously for something that's school related, you're like, you know what, this is my senior year. I'm choosing myself. live with it. You know what I mean? Do you feel like, I mean, obviously it was something you should have done. I mean, like, you didn't want to be at the event. It was the right call, and you enjoyed the fact that you were able to do that. Do you think that when it comes to things regarding your family or those closest to you, do you feel like you ever have been able to, or that you even think that you would want to just say, let me take a pause real quick, one day, just a Cydney day, you know, whatever that looks like? Or do you feel like everybody does so much, I can be the one that gets the overflow of whatever they need support with, so I wouldn't say no?
I only need like an hour
Okay.
to recharge.
Yeah.
I don't like being by myself.
Okay.
Like, if I were to move out the house, I would want a roommate. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like being alone. I like to talk to people a lot.
Yeah.
So I just need like an hour to recharge by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm good. Like, a couple of weeks ago, we kept Courtney's dog. And we never really talked about who was going to take him out. But I just was like, okay, I'll do it. Got up at 8, like, every day.
Yeah.
Took him out. And it was fine, and we had our designated spot, and he always went, and it was great. And so just little things like that. And I really struggled this past week with my mother taking some time off, and and I was like, I really don't want to do this, but I was like, suck it up, because and then it's kind of like you don't have to feel like doing it, and I feel like I battle with that a lot. Like, I don't feel like it. And I hear myself thinking that, and I hate that. And I was like, I need to do it because this is like helping someone else. And it's like, I mean, what am I losing? Not a lot. Something I can do after I help, you know?
Right.
So I've been battling, trying to get over that I don't feel like it feeling.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, because I'm still working through that a
Y'all be
lot.
like,
I don't feel like it. I cannot push it off, and I had gotten a little bit better in that, and I'm still doing a lot better than I used to be. But this last 7 months or so, 6 or 7 months, I have not. I'd be like, I don't feel like it. What can I do? How far can I push it back till I have to do it? I don't know. It's just that's something I have to work about it. But like what you said is, even if I don't feel like it, I need to push into it and say, you know what, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And some stuff, when you do it, you'll feel better. Like, in college, I would do my laundry, wash it, and leave it in the basket for like a week because I didn't feel like hanging it up. I was like, oh, it's just going to take so long. I have so many clothes. But it would feel like the longer I left it there, the more heavy I felt, the more cluttered my side of the room looked. So I was like, I have to hang it up. And I hung it up, and I felt better, and I felt lighter.
yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah. I think that is something that is really, really good. And so now, as you are moving into adulting, now I think it starts in college, but you're moving into that. Previously, we talked about like relationships, and we talked about building relationships. And at the time that you came before, you weren't in a relationship. You were like, you were going to be waiting on the Lord and all that kind of stuff. And so now it's been about 2 years, I believe. How does that look for you? Are you still believing that you'll be that person, or have you found someone, or have they found you? And how is that going?
I would say a couple, like 2 years ago, the Lord finally allowed me to release my ex, because it wasn't, because I would really sit down and be like, I know this isn't going to work. I don't want this to work. So why can't I let it go? And it was the comfort I felt like I was getting from that companionship. And I just could not believe that God could be that comfort for me. I was like, what if I need a hug? What you gonna do? But he allowed me to let that go. And when I let go, I can be completely fine, like being single. Maybe every once in a while I'll be like, that'd be nice. Or if I see a movie or something. But usually, like, I can be good. And so I wasn't really looking for a relationship. And then my current boyfriend reached out to me from like Snapchat. And so and it's been great. And I was like, I'm a Christian. I go to church. this is what's not going to happen. This is what needs to happen. And we're on the same page. And that's what was missing in my last relationship.
Yeah.
And so far, so good. And I prayed so many times, like, Lord, if this is not the one, show me now. Before, you know, we became official or anything.
Yeah.
And it was just, it felt like things were confirming instead of pushing away.
Yeah.
And I saw something, I saw a post the other day, and it's like, when the Lord actually gives you something and you're like skeptical because it's like, is this for real?
Yeah.
Not to say that this is, you know, forever, but
Yeah.
hopefully. But I feel like we're good. We're going in a good direction.
That's good.
What was the other part of the question?
Well, like, do you find that you, like, in the past you were talking about, like, your relationship, but you kind of covered it all when you were saying that you are a Christian. You told him up front, like, where you were standing and what you would and would, like, setting up those guardrails, those boundaries, and he was like, I'm on the same page. And so in that, do you find that it's easier now to navigate that? Because before you were like, you felt like your past relationships kind of were steering you towards compromise, whereas this one, do you find that that's different?
Yeah, I feel like I have more wisdom now. I mean, a lot of people can say they're okay with stuff.
Yeah.
But what have you seen them doing? What is their actions? What do they talk about? And it's like, oh, you knew good and well that was not gonna be able to sustain for a while. And talking about that as soon as possible really takes the load off. And it was funny because when I was like, yeah, I'm not having sex before marriage, and I was like holding my breath, he was like, oh, is that it? He's like, I thought you were going to make me meet everybody in your church or something before I could ask you out. And I was so excited. I was like, wow. I called my mom and I was like, I don't have to have sex for marriage. But getting that out the way was like, okay, like we can actually move forward without that hanging over my head. Because it's a terrible feeling. So. And a big help, recently, maybe 2-3 months ago, me and my sisters had this coming to Jesus meeting with my dad, and about how we felt like we needed more support from him in relationships. And he was explaining how he always just felt like he should be more standoffish because he didn't want to, intrude. We were like, no, we want to hear your advice and stuff. And it was tears and everything, and it was beautiful. And now my sister calls my dad about her relationship.
Wow.
And it's like we never would have done that. We used to joke about like, oh, we're just gonna get married and tell dad to meet us at the wedding. But it was an awkwardness and uncomfortableness was removed.
Yes.
And we can talk freely with him, and that was such a huge, huge blessing because I feel like that has been like over our heads like for a long time.
Yeah.
And everyone just got it out what they needed to say, and now like I was like, wow, this is great. It was great stuff because like my dad was like, yeah, I want to know about your relationships because he'll come afterwards and be like, yeah, the Lord told me he wasn't,
And you couldn't have told me that.
He's like, well, I want you to make your own decisions and stuff. I was like, but a little advice here and there is not bad. So yeah, that was really great.
I'm glad that you had that conversation because I think more and more families have to have the hard conversations, the awkward conversations to get it out the way to be able to facilitate growth. I think because when you're a child, your parents tell you things and you do them. As an adult, you want to be able to have a conversation and then, bounce ideas off of each other. Not you telling me what to do, but let me tell you what I'm doing. And then you can be like, yeah, I don't know about that. What do you think about this? And I think being able to say, like, we sat down with our parent and we had a conversation. He was able to hear us and we were able to hear him. And to, like you said, that's a beautiful thing. Not many people, I think, experience that.
Yeah, and we really got the guts, I'd say, to do it from David Matthews.
I was going to ask, how did you get the conversation up?
So he would invite us over and he would just minister to us. And he would just, like, the Lord would lay on his heart and he would just tell us, like, he had the same conversation with his dad. And he was like, this is how you address it. Don't expect this, going with this kind of mindset. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, this is all great, but this conversation is probably not going to happen for a long time. But it was like the weekend before Aaliyah was leaving for Texas. And we were like, okay, well, we need to get this off our chest before she leaves. And we did it. And I texted David and he was like, hallelujah. Because I was like, thank you so much for your help. Because you really like ministered to us and helped us. Yeah. How to direct that conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's good because he was pouring into you to give you the God had him in place to be able to even let y'all know that, hey, this might be a conversation y'all want to have. And you're like, that's not it. But he's like, hey, you can have it and it can be a good thing. But you knew that if not, you still could go back and talk to him and be like, hey, we tried this thing. It didn't. He'd be like, okay, like maybe try it this way. So you still had some guidance there. God had somebody who was in a similar situation because his dad's also an associate pastor. So y'all have a similar dynamic that would make it easier for y'all to connect on that level. Yeah.
That's amazing. No, I was, because honestly, you ran right into the answer to my question because I was going to say, I actually piggybacked off my thoughts. Like, y'all just been reading my mind, honestly. Because I was like, to have a conversation like that is like to be uncomfortable. And I think that was one thing that you said was to be uncomfortable and to be willing to be uncomfortable for a short while to grow and strengthen your relationship and build that up. So that now you can say, no, I can confide in my dad. I can ask his opinion and he's going to tell me the truth. Like, you trust that already. It's like, tell me now rather than after it has dissolved and you could save me, whatever that looks like. But when you, and then you kind of piggyback when you said no, David Matthews. So I was like, how did you get the boldness, the confidence to broach that topic? Was it like hey dad, we just want to sit with you and talk? Or was it like, we talked to David and he told us we should have a conversation with you. Like, 'cause I feel like a lot of people, to Ashley's point, don't know how to have those kind of conversations. So in your instance, your dad is a pastor. And so you know him better than anybody. Like, you're like, okay, how do you broach that conversation with a parent that is a believer, but you maybe don't necessarily feel like you have transparency in every stage of your life with them? So like you kind of touched on it, how you're like, David gave y'all the kind of in on that, but how did you and your sisters come together about, we're going to broach it tonight, we're going to have the conversation? How do you step into that for people who you maybe don't know how, or they're like, okay, I don't know what to say to have that conversation?
Yeah, I would say know who you're about to talk to, and know like what would trigger them and what wouldn't. So we made sure not to just be like, I feel like you failed me in this area, like the way you say it was very important, and it wasn't like an argument style. It wasn't like we were upset. It was like, we want to discuss this with you, get this off our chest. And I feel like sometimes parents can be like, well, I just failed, or what was I doing? And it's like, we're not saying that. But this is where we could use help. And he didn't say a word until we all finished talking, and he offered the encouragement everyone needed. He apologized. Like, it was perfect. It was everything we needed. So,
and I can attest to that kind of that uncomfortableness. A few months ago, me and my dad had a run-in with the conversation. It wasn't even. It was really something, but the Lord used it for me to be able to work on some things inwardly, and then have to sit down and have a conversation with my dad. And just like you, it was very uncomfortable. I had to think about it, I had to pray on it. I had to be like, what exactly am I going to say? I don't want him to feel like I'm attacking him. I don't want him to feel like it. So it's like, this is how I was feeling in these situations. This is what I was thinking. This is where, it was all about me in those situations. I was like, I don't know what you are, and I know you to be this person. So, but how I felt in this manner, it was never about them feeling like I'm attacking you, like you said, you did this, you failed me, you did all. It wasn't that. It was just, I feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. I would like for you to be a part of the journey with me. I would like to be able to freely speak with you on these topics. And like you said, that breakthrough, the tears, the crying, the being like, oh, the listening back and forth, like hearing his heart and him hearing my heart. It was very much a time of revelation. It was a time of, I think, coming together. So now that I feel like me and him, our relationship is a lot better than it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'll be like, so Eric is my boyfriend's name. I'll be like, yeah, Eric does so-and-so, so-and-so. And I don't, usually I used to be like, yeah, my friend does so-and-so. Yeah. And then Eric actually came over for Christmas. And my dad, he's not mean to boyfriends, but this is back when we didn't have any business dating anyway. He was kind of like, what are you doing? But he was so nice. He was so nice to him. They talked. I mean, there was conversation, and then Eric was like, I really feel like a part of the family, and I felt like recognized and respected and stuff. I was like, oh, that's wonderful. So it's, I mean, the change has been almost immediate, and it's been great. But if you are having this conversation with somebody and they don't receive it, just know that you got that off your chest. You did that for you, and to trust God to keep working on them. Yeah. And don't leave your, I guess, healing from the situation dependent on their reaction. That's a big thing that David was telling us.
Yeah. That's really good. So that's the key. Don't, when you go into a situation, even if the person doesn't respond the way you want them to respond, don't let your healing be stopped because of their reaction. Yeah. Girl, that speaks volumes, because I think a lot of times when we want people to forgive us, or we want people to feel the same way that we do, and if they don't, it's like it was all for nothing. Why did I even have that conversation? Because it didn't turn out. But that was the journey of your healing process. It hadn't really, I mean, yes, it included them, but it was for you to be able to start healing, for you to be able to start seeing yourself the way God sees you. Yes. And I think that, I know Carmen and I were reading this book. Well, we kind of got a plateaued on it, but
you have stopped reading it.
I was like I truthfully, honestly have not read it in like 2 weeks, but maybe even longer. But it's called The Sacred Slow, and that book takes you through a journey of like having the tough conversations and the hard conversations, but it's not even with necessarily always with other people. Sometimes it's the conversation, a hard conversation with yourself, and a hard conversation with yourself, and then having the conversations with God. One of the major things that they talk about is your God concept and how you see God. And I think how you see God sometimes plays a part in your healing process, because you attribute how people react to how God is going to react. And so because of that, when people don't respond the way you think that they should, then you're like, if I ever take this to God, he's not going to respond the way that I need it to be responded to, so that I can have peace, or I can have the closure that I need in a situation. And so for David to give y'all that ahead of time, to get y'all prepared for, he may not respond how you want. It may not be this loving, embrace of a conversation. It may be hostile. It may be whatever. I think he was letting you know that just because of that doesn't mean that God the Father is going to be that same way. He will still love you. He will still come through for you. He will still make a way for you. And I think that's something that is crucial to understand. And sometimes even myself, I have to remember that even when people don't respond or act the way that I want them to, that doesn't mean that I'm wrong or that what I'm feeling is wrong. And it doesn't mean that God is not going to be who he said he's going to be.
Yep. Spot on. Spot on. And one thing that you said, Cydney, that I felt like was important for people to also know was to know your audience. Like when you said, I'm going in, we're having this conversation, you know who your dad is. So you're like, how about I don't do these triggering things because we want to have healing. I don't want it to be accusatory and being like, well, you failed me as a parent, because that isn't the truth. You know that your dad loves you. You know he did everything in the best of his ability to raise you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's all of the choices that both of your parents have made. So it wasn't that you were going into this saying, I'm going to force you again to give me the response that I want. Mm-hmm. I'm going into this and I'm just laying out my heart. And I'm saying, you know what? Taking David's advice, if you don't necessarily receive it well, I'm not doing it in an accusatory way. This is just where we are. This is how we feel. And I think people need to make sure that when they're, potentially facing those type of conversations, they go into it aware of who their audience is and not just thinking, I need to get healing out of this. Mm-hmm. I need to take away. It's like, yeah, you do want to have healing out of this. Mm-hmm. Go before the throne so the Lord can work you out before you get into the conversation, if you know you're ready for a fight. And then he'll prepare you to have that conversation in the appropriate way. And so I love the fact that you said that, because I was like, know the audience.
It also helped that, like, these are your parents, but these are people.
Yes.
People who were once your age, and people who had parents who also may have done things that they didn't. And, like, one of the most important things, or one of the things that my mom said that really helped me kind of, like, understand both of them, was that it's hard to get out of someone that wasn't put in them. And so I really, like, paid attention to the way my parents were raised and, what they had to endure. And, like, you can understand why they act a certain way or why they're like that. And it's like, okay, this is your circumstances. This, correct. And it's not just like, oh, why is she always like that? Or why is she always doing that? Right. And it's like, you're my parent. You're supposed to do da-da-da. But it's like, these are people, too. And my parents come off as people who have known what they were doing as soon as Courtney was born. And that's just how they are. But they make mistakes, and they have acknowledged that. And it took me a while to realize, they're not perfect. Mm-hmm. And that they can acknowledge their mistakes. And it's like, once I saw my parents as people, I gained a deeper respect for them.
And I think that's key, is because I think trauma is a word that has become really a big word. Right. Like, everybody is trauma. The trauma of my childhood, I'm working through it. And the thing is, you have gone through things that shape you. Mm-hmm. And they may have been somewhat traumatic. But I think people sit in the trauma. Mm-hmm. And I think that the older generation, they didn't really talk about their feelings that much. Like our parents, they didn't really talk about their feelings that much, or they'll tell you how everything was, and you're like, oh wow, I don't think in this day and age that wouldn't fly. But you see that. But the thing that you said is you think that they had all the answers. And I think that's what a lot of people, and even myself, well, like, you were the parent. Mm-hmm. As the parent, you told us we had to trust you as a know-all. Mm-hmm. The oracle of knowing everything. So whatever you told me was truth, and I believed it as such for the most part. And so when the things go bad, it's easy to say, you did this to me. And they're like, well, I was just trying to do what I thought was best in that situation to keep you alive to the point where you could be able to take care of yourself. I didn't want anything bad to happen. In this situation, it seemed like it would be for the best, but you're like, that hurt me when you said these 5 words to me. And they're like, what 5 words? I do not even remember this. But you're like, it's stuck in my heart, and I am terrible, and I feel so bad, and this is what, and you're going off about all these things, and you realize that, like you said, they're people. Like, when you were born, they did not have a book that told them when Ashley is 2.5 months, she may roll off the bed. And when she rolls off the bed, you need to have a pillow sitting right there so that she won't be traumatized. So now, since she has rolled off the steps, now she doesn't trust anybody to catch her. And so you were like, oh no, this is coming from real life. But I had dropped Carmen. Well, not dropped Carmen. I sat her on the edge of the steps and she fell off. I didn't realize that she couldn't hold herself up. And so I felt like that caused some damage. Trauma for her. But anyway, but when you realize that they don't know. They're just doing the best they can, that they're young. Because, I mean, you think about when your parents got married. My dad and my mom were married. I think when they had me, they were probably like 27, 28. But they got married when I was like 23. So, like, that, they're young. Like, imagine you're not even 23 yet. So, imagine yourself, you know, having a house and children and multiple children and trying to tell them what to do and keep them safe. I don't know that I know for a fact that me at 23 could not handle that. I would not have been a good parent. I'd be like, can I give this baby to somebody? Can somebody come pick them up? And so thinking of that and thinking of how the decisions I made just for myself, then having to make decisions for another person, it's a wonder that your parents are as nice and as calm and caring as they are, because they have had so much stress and responsibility placed on them to take care of you. And so I think you have to look at both sides of the coin. Yes, they may have not done everything that you wanted them to do, but they did the best that they knew how, and they can't do anything that they weren't. A lot of our parents didn't have stable homes like we have. And you expect them to be able to know how to do everything in stability for you. Mm-hmm. And they just can't.
Yeah. So. I mean, to your point, it's a testament to the power of God. If you really think about it, if you're like, this is where you came from and this is where you are. Like, I see the Lord working in your life. Yeah. And in me, where I am in life is by the grace of God. Mm-hmm. You know, you can see that clearly. And I think y'all are both 100% right, because when you think about it, like, when your parents become humans to you instead of just your parents, it's like, because you said, like, you believe what they say. It's like, it just is what it is. And then when you feel let down from whatever they told you, then you're like, wait a minute. And instead of it being like, that was a human making a mistake or a human error, the same grace that you would want to be extended to you, you're like, they failed me. They failed me, and now I'm a failure because of their failure. You know, like, people go to such extremes from parental hurt. But a lot of times, tying back to that book, a lot of things do tie into your God concept. And a lot of people's God concepts are their parent concepts. So whatever you are like, okay, my parents do X, Y, and Z really well, I can trust God in those things. But the areas of you that needs the extra support, that's like, well, maybe they aren't necessarily the most reliable people. And they may be like, they'll pay the bills, but maybe they tell me something and it falls through. Or they planned on doing something, but they just weren't able to do it. So whenever it's something that you're like, Lord, I'm trusting you, but I have a plan B, C, and D, just in case you fall through, because my parents, the people who were in authority over me until really I could get a relationship with you, let me down in that way. And again, your parents are human. So whatever they have worked through to get to the place where they are now to be your parents, they have their own hurts, their own lives. Everything that you have, if you think about all the hurts that you have, and if you think about the ones that you think, okay, this is directly related to my relationship with my parents, if they have just that same number to direct it to their parents, they had to bring that into their relationship with you. Because if it was like, I didn't feel loved, I felt abandoned, I felt neglected. And if they aren't healed in those areas, then it can bear fruit. And you see that in their relationship with you. And then that bears fruit if you don't address it, you don't acknowledge it, and you don't say, okay, Dad, we need to have a conversation. We need to sit down and get healing. We need to mend this bridge, because this is an area where we feel our needs are not being met. But again, testament to the Lord, because he's there to have that conversation with, to be able to sit down, and then his heart's in the right place to receive it. And he's like, you know what? this is why my thought process, this is why I haven't done X, Y, and Z. And you're able to come to a place of healing. And I think that's beautiful. And I also think it is important that us as individuals let the Lord do his work in us, and he can reveal to us, hey, these are the shortcomings and these are the challenges that you have in your life. And this is the root of those problems. Because a lot of those things, the areas that are disconnects in your relationship with God, at least specific to me, are directly related to my parents. I'll be like, God, you are so giving. You are, oh yes. But then I'll be like, and I get that, but I'm going to just double check and make sure that the thing that you said was going to be like it is actually like it is. Not that I don't trust you, which obviously means you're not trusting if you're double checking. And so it's important. Like I said, it's important to let the Lord show you those things and reveal those things to you, and let your heart be in the right place, because he'll do the healing for you. Because a lot of people's parents aren't there for them to have that conversation with once you get to that place of healing. So if your parents are there, say, Lord, reveal to me, show to me, so I can go ahead and mend that bridge. I can mend that fence. I can build that relationship up, so that, again, if they don't meet me the way that I need to be met, the Lord knows, and the healing can still take place.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's like exactly what I deal with. It's funny because my dad said it one Sunday, and I went to my sister's church, and the guy there said it too. But it's like we call on the Lord like for the situation, and then it's like, all right, I'll take it from here. And I do that so much. And then like having backup plans, because it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm free falling if I don't have a plan. And I was like, I can't. Like there was one time when I didn't get the Pell Grant that year. And I was like, Mom, we got to come up with this money somewhere. They're going to kick me out my class. And then my mom was like, yeah, we're trusting the Lord, and I'm going to pray. And she sounded completely calm. I was like, okay. And then it's like, I forgot what was going to happen. Or like the deadline was coming up. And I was like, Mom, you don't care about me. You're not making any plans. You're just sitting there. I was like, faith without works is dead. What are you doing? And she's like, calm down. We still care about you. I'm just waiting on the Lord, and this is what we're going to do. And it worked out. But I was just so, I don't know, fearful, because it didn't, I couldn't see it.
Yes.
I didn't know where the money was going to come from. I didn't know how we are going to pull this off. But, and then even in all that unbelief, God still made it work out.
He does show up, for real.
Shout out to God.
Yeah. But I think that's true, because last year I had to trust him so much for a lot of things. And I was always like trying to make another plan. So if this doesn't work, I will go and work at the Wendy's. I'll get have 3 jobs, and I'll work here, and I'll do this. And it was like, but God was like, wait on me, be patient. And I'd be like, but God, it's coming down to this. I'm feeling the heat. It's feeling like the walls are closing in. And he's like, wait on me, be patient. And it's like, okay, let me make this plan and start, so you start writing out 5 different lists. Like, I got this, and this. And it's like, well, wait on me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put my list to the side, and you'll put your list to the side, but your mind is still racing. You're like, so even though you're saying, God, yes, I put my list to the side, I'm trusting you on it, we don't have anything right here. So right here, I can go and I can get a loan here. But I don't really want to be in debt. So I could go and talk to this person, and I could get something together here. And, maybe, people are saying you can make money this way. I could do it like that. And,
Start getting to Forex trading.
No, no, you start selling your feet pictures.
Oh, no.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, but you start getting, you feel desperate, but not desperate. It's like you feel like you're free falling. You don't feel like out of control. And I know for me, God was just really teaching me about letting him be in control, because I wanted to be in control of everything, because I like to be. I'm always like, and in the past have been really like, I am on it. I have control of my destiny, of my future. I can go here and I can go here. And it was like, you have no control. You have no, what you think you're in charge of, you have no control over. And so I think just trusting in the Lord is something that was really big last year, and it's really big this year, because now it's a different type of trust. Like I was trusting him for monetary stuff, and I was trusting him for daily stuff, and I was for everything. It was just all the things. And now that he has given me a lot of things, I still have to be trustful and not rely. And I have to keep telling myself I'm not relying on the things that he's given me for me to be able to go. I have to continue to trust him, because it's so easy, like if you don't have a job, to be like, I have to trust the Lord and he provides, and it's so great. And then when you get a job, it's like he still has to do all those things that he was doing for you when you didn't have a job. Not, now that I have a job,
I'll take the reins back.
Right.
Now.
All right,
I have it. Oh, thank you, God, for this job. Now this job is going to pay for everything. It's going to make me feel safe. It's going to make me feel comforted. It's going to make me feel like secure. It's like, no, God will be my comfort. God will be my security. God will be my provider. God will be all my all these things. And I think learning how to give him the reins, that being in that place of surrender, constantly, not just every once in a while, is where I'm kind of trying to find that balance there. And when you said that, I was like, I can totally get there, because I do want to be like, God, here, I see you got the plan, but I want to just bring my notebook that I have. So let's discuss where this is going. And it's like, no, I have everything in control. So
yeah, no, I agree. When you said, you were like, oh, I'll take the reins back. Like, I'll take back control. I was like, that's spot on. And you, again, I mean, we said it on our last episode that it's a process. So like, a lot of times we're like, God, I expect to be transformed now. And like, immediately it's like a magic trick, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm now a totally different person. And it's like, you are transformed. But for you to continually be transformed, it's a daily effort. It's like, I have to be intentional to trust you every day. So yeah, I'm waking up. You're waking me up. Like, I have to acknowledge your hand in my life in every area. Yes. And a lot of times we get into the motions. So you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, thank God for the alarm, but not like, I actually woke up. Like, thank you, God, for waking me up. Thanking him for everything, the small things. It's like you almost forget to think about it, because they happen so regularly. You rely on everything to work right. You're like, yes, do not open this cabinet door. It's not going to fly off into my hands and hurt me, because that's how it's supposed to work. But I feel like a lot of times we don't acknowledge God in everyday, like in everyday stuff. We'd be like, oh man, his mercies, when somebody almost crashes into you, on 75. When we have a smooth drive home and have no incidents, you're like, today was a good day. It's not like, God, you worked that out. Like, you got me here. I feel like we overlook him in a lot of areas, and that makes it a lot harder to trust him in the long run, because we're not acknowledging his presence. So it's like, you haven't really been there, even though he has been, because we're not acknowledging him being there. It's like, when I need you to show up, you're showing up. Not that you've already been consistently with me this entire time. I'm just now saying, Lord, I'm ready to talk to you and ready to get a helping hand that I acknowledge. And so I think it can be easy. It can be hard to be entrusting to the Lord, because again, and then also like me, I'm a plan B-er. And like you said, if you can't see whatever the plan is, I'm like, okay, God, I know you have a plan, but can you show me it? Like, just the blueprint. Like, just show me what I'm supposed to do. What are my next steps?
Not highlighted step by step. Like, I take a step, and then you
exactly
illuminate the next
exactly
step.
I need you to show me the whole plan, not just part 1, section A. Like, I want to see the entire thing. And so the Lord is like, you will get part 1 today. That means get up this morning, and that's it. Right. You're like, what does the day hold? And again, that's what's happening to us every day anyway. Yeah. We don't actually know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to pop up, but we don't realize, because we're not acknowledging. We're thinking, and in our minds, it's like we're thinking it's just happening. It's not like the Lord is allowing me to do these things. He's allowing me to wake up and go to this place and do this thing and have these encounters or whatever my life looks like, to go to work, to make breakfast, whatever that looks like. He's allowing those things to happen and for me to do those things. And I'm not acknowledging him in that. So it doesn't feel like that's a part of his plan.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is just regular. But like, no, your breakfast this morning was a part of his plan. You know, we don't think of it in the granular details of every day. So I'm trying to be more intentional in my thoughts and be like acknowledging the Lord and being like, okay, God, you're still here. You're still walking with me. Like in this moment, oh, you're here too. Like, and I'm trying to be intentional. Is it hard? Yes. But I'm trying. So
Cydney, like even in this conversation when we're talking about, trusting God and moving and following his plan, his path, we've been saying throughout that you've just graduated and you are back at home and everything, but where do you see God taking you, or where is you feel that he's directing you now, for this summer and then going forward from there?
I feel like he has me at home, and I kind of feel like I'll probably go to law school in state.
Yes.
And still be kind of close to home, at home, some kind of way. Just for what? Maybe the most obvious, to help my granddad, but maybe for other reasons as well. I feel confident about going to law school. I don't feel like I'm getting in the way of my head. Like who said I could do that? Yeah. Like it feels good, and every time I talk about it, I feel reassured.
Yes.
And so that's really good. But I feel like I'm coming home. I feel like I'm probably going to be more involved in church some kind of way. And getting back into my community here at home, I feel like is the next steps for me. And I feel like my parents need some entertainment, so so I'm there. But probably for like a month they were by them. It was just them two, my granddad. And so now being there, because there's so many things that happen, I was like, no, what would they do if I wasn't here? and so just the Lord just allows me to be there when they need them, when they need me to be there.
Okay. So you know what? he knows what we need and what other people need as well. So he puts you in place. And so I know that you will do well in law school because you are determined and focused, and you have a good head on your shoulders. Yes. And you trust God and everything. So I am excited to see what law school and what other endeavors they bring.
Yes. We'll be like, so do you offer free legal service? And you'll be like, those people who are real lawyers? No. You can pay my retainer.
You can get a consultation, like the first 5 or 15 minutes is free. Yeah. And then after that you start getting charged like $100.
Yeah.
Like I have pro bono friends.
They're like, I'll send you to one of my friends. But I really appreciate when people say they charge, because people's friends really try to get discounts on their services. And I'm like, this is their job.
Right. You wouldn't respect them.
Right.
And because that's your friend, you should have more respect for them.
Exactly. How much do you want me to pay you full price? Okay. Like I respect what you do and I think you're good at it.
Yeah. And when you come in with that attitude, then you give them room to bless you.
Yes. Exactly. See, last little nugget before we end the episode. Thank you again, Cydney, for coming. I really appreciated you stopping by. Of course,
thanks for inviting me.
Yes, it was a really good episode. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
See y'all later. Bye.
Thanks for watching our latest video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.